Why are you here?
Why are any of us here?
No. I made my choice. I chose to live.
You did. But maybe it's not all about you.
What is this? What are you trying to tell me?
Dwayne, you have to figure it out. I'm not your spirit guide. I'm your clock. Tick-tock.
You picked a bad time. You picked a bad time to listen to me. You picked a bad time. You picked a bad time to listen to me. You ain't on hard enough to say, at least I tried. You ain't gone far enough. You ain't worked hard enough. You ain't.
With Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No.
I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Is up.
Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. We're coming down to the final days in July. Another really hot one out there today. Guys, what's going on? I'm sweating as soon as I step outside. It's terrible. Terrible. Dom Izzo out today. He's out for the rest of this week, back in New York. One last vacation before we get ramped up with football season. So I'm Logan Campbell. I'm filling in for him today. Guys, I woke up this morning, and it was one of the hardest things I had to do. For whatever reason, Wednesdays are the hardest days of the week for me to get up early. And you guys know I'm not a morning person, so me getting up before 7 in general is just tough for me to do. But today, I couldn't do it. And I have been arguing this for years. Wednesdays are the worst day of the week. Far worse than Mondays. You know, Mondays, it's like a fresh start. You get a fresh start to the week. You're a little bit excited about what the week holds. At least I am. But Wednesdays, it's like you're halfway through. You're so close to the weekend, but you still have so much to do. And Wednesdays seem like the longest day of the week for whatever reason for me. It was really hard to get up this morning, but we're up. We're here. And we have a great show for you guys today. We have a busy show for you guys today. As you guys know, training camp for the Vikings does start today. We'll hear from some of the players later today. We'll be able to show some of their press conferences tomorrow. But fall camp for NDSU football starts next week. I seriously cannot believe it. I'm so excited for this season. I think it's going to be a good season for NDSU. Excited to see what fall camp holds because there's several questions, especially on the defensive side, heading into this fall camp. But yesterday we talked with the running backs coach, and we learned a little bit about what to expect from the running backs group for the Bison this year. Today we're going to talk with Dan Larson, the offensive line coach, get some inside information on what's going on there, who's expected to step up, because as we know, NDSU creates several professional level athletes every year on the offensive line. We saw it with Cody Mauk, Cordell Volson. Who's it going to be this year? We have our suspicions. So it'll be interesting to hear what Dan Larson thinks and who's really done well this offseason. So I'm excited to talk with him. That's at 9:15. It's Wednesday, which means Drew Trafton is coming on. We got lots to talk about with him, especially with all the NFL news that has been coming out over the past few days. We got some fun stuff to talk about, and we'll talk a little bit about the uniforms. I'd love to hear his thoughts because I guess I have some hot takes on what I think of the throwback uniforms started coming out. So we'll get his thoughts. That's in the first hour of the show. The second hour of the show, we have Dick Bremer coming on. I, of course, jinxed the Twins yesterday. Shocker. I don't know if you guys saw the game last night, but it looked really promising until the 9th inning. Classic Twins. The Seattle snapped a 4-game win streak. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but lots to talk about with the Twins, especially with the trade deadline coming up on August 1st. And NDSU football got another commit, Noah Stommes. I talked with him, and he will be coming on the show at 10:35. He has a really interesting story and actually some connections to NDSU football. His cousin, Jacob Streit, plays for the Bison. He's a tight end, and his other cousin, Josh Streit, actually plays for the basketball team here at NDSU. So there's a little bit of a family connection here for the Bison for him. So we'll hear from him. Excited about him to be here. He's excited to be here. So yeah, it's a fun show. It's going to be a really packed show. I want to start the day off with some good news. Like I said, Wednesdays are my least favorite day, but some great news has come out of the NFL just a few minutes ago. We all know what happened to the Bills safety Damar Hamlin a few months ago in that game against Seattle. Well, now he's back. He's officially 100% ready to go at training camp up in Buffalo, which is so exciting. You know, when he has, I guess we're going to call it an injury like that, a terrifying, heart-stopping injury, and he's able to come back and play 100% is just incredible. Absolutely incredible. And, you know, I personally don't know him, but just what I'm seeing on Twitter, he just seems like the most genuine, nicest guy and has the most incredible stories. The documentaries that are going to come out on him are going to be fantastic. So that's our good news of the day. Really excited to see what he's going to do this season. And, you know, I think that him being able to come back and be 100% healthy, letting him go 100% at training camp, gives other people hope. We saw what happened with Bronny James yesterday. Such a scary scenario. But I think the James family seeing this and hearing from him because he publicly tweeted at them, I think will encourages them and will give them hope and promise that he'll be able to do the same. So such an inspiration, not only to the NFL, but to athletes across the country. So that's awesome. That's really cool. Continuing on the good news train, NFL players are finally getting paid the big bucks. We'll start off with the biggest one that happened yesterday, and that is with the Los Angeles Chargers quarterback, Justin Herbert. He reached an agreement on a 5-year, $262.5 million extension that ties him to the Chargers through the 2009 season. That is absolutely insane. Imagine having that much money. Did I say 2009? I meant 2029. Hello. Happy Wednesday. Imagine having that much money. What would be the first thing that you would buy with that much money? I can't even think about what would be the first thing. When we talked with Cordell, when he signed his rookie contract, the first thing he bought was a car, a huge truck, decked out truck. I'm not a car person, so I don't think I'd buy a car first. Maybe like a nice house with a pool and a hot tub. I've always wanted a pool at my house. Just buying a house in general would be pretty cool. Doesn't even have to be big. Just getting a house would be nice. That would probably be the first thing I buy if I made that much money. This is, yeah. He's the third quarterback this offseason to sign a contract extension. And it's more than Jalen Hurts, who signed 5 years, $255 million contract, and Lamar Jackson, who did a 5 years, $260 million contract. And honestly, It's well deserved for Justin Herbert. He has over 14,000 passing yards, which is the most through players' first 3 seasons in the NFL. 94 passing touchdowns, second most through the first 3 seasons in the NFL history. And 64 total quarterback rushes, 4th best in NFL history since 2020. Oh, wait, hold on. I read that wrong. 4th best in NFL since his rookie season in 2020. Get paid Justin Herbert. And he's literally my age. Like, I wish I could make that much money at the age of 25. I wish. But he's not the only one getting paid. Giants also made a huge deal with left tackle Andrew Thomas. Reached an agreement on a 5-year, $117.5 million extension, which includes an offensive line record of $67 million fully guaranteed at signing, keeping him in New York through the 2029 season. This is the 3rd biggest contract extension the Giants have given this offseason to one of their own players. First, it was Daniel Jones, 4 years, $160 million, and Dexter Lawrence, 4 years, $90 million. The amount that these offensive linemen get paid is insane. Insane. Like, if I was going to play in the NFL, which obviously I'm not, and obviously I could never do, I honestly think I would want to be a lineman. I mean, like, quarterback is great, yeah, but just watching the work that they all have to do, obviously it's a lot of work, but they have to know literally everything that everyone's doing, not just their own position, but everyone else's. That's, like, the mental game is hard, but you get paid a lot. But the offensive linemen get paid so much too. Obviously, it's a lot more physical and taxing on their body for a lineman, but the money is there. These poor running backs who have bigger star qualities than the linemen are not getting paid anything. Anything. And I understand the peak of their careers is really like 25, 26, and when you turn 27, 28, you're considered old and washed up when you're a running back. They're literally not getting paid anything. So I saw reports yesterday saying former running backs in the NFL said if they could redo everything, they would totally switch their position and not even consider playing running back. Like, that's really sad. And I know the NFL is more of like a passing league anyways, but I would be a right guard is what I would play. The best position to play, though, is either a backup quarterback or a punter. Tressway is one of my favorite players of all time. He's a punter for Washington. That one would be good because there's not that much pressure. Kicker would stink because you're either the most loved or the most hated player on your team, depending on the moment. Washington, and I know Minnesota, has had their fair share of kickers who have absolutely just blown the games. Absolutely blown the games. And I can't imagine just feeling that pressure. You know, the clock is at like 3 seconds. You're tied or you're down. And you got to kick either the game-winning field goal or the tying field goal. And you just completely botch it. Oh, my gosh. And then, like, everything that everyone's saying to you, I would literally delete social media if I was a kicker. Would not want to see any of it. But realistically, going back to what position I would play, realistically, I would probably be a kicker. That would probably be the most fitting position for me in my physical attributes. And I used to play soccer. Yep, soccer players do make good kickers. And it's funny because me and my brother and his friends and like my family, when they come up to visit, we would always go to my local high school, Herndon High School, go Hornets, and we would kick field goals. We could see who can make it the farthest. I would outkick like 80% of them. And then I was thinking, my mom was like, oh, you should maybe go and try out for the football team, because my football team was absolutely terrible. Terrible. We would lose like by like 50 like every game. It was awful. Those games were so bad. But I should have done it. That would have been so cool. That would have been cool. And I maybe would have led Herndon to at least one win a season, because I'm not even kidding. I think maybe throughout my 4 years there, we probably won like 3 football games. To be fair, though, the area I grew up in, like 70% of the athletes there went to a like high D1 college for their sports. It's super competitive. We were in 6A, which is the hardest division. And then, of course, when I left, we got bumped down to 5A, and then they started doing better in all sports. Regardless, I should have done it. Let's turn back time, and let me try out to be the kicker for the Herndon High School Hornets. Oh, I have an idea. Maybe I should try it with the NDSU football team. Griffin Crosa. I'm going to challenge Griffin Crosa to see who can kick the field goal farthest. And I know it's going to be him. His leg has really developed over this past year, so. But that would be funny. So first, yesterday we were challenged to race against Tamarick Williams. So we got to get that done. And now we got to challenge Griffin Crosa to do a field goal challenge. We're going to do it this season. We're going to have fun this season. I'm really excited. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, offensive line coach for NDSU, Dan Larson, will join me on the show. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Hot Mic on WDAY Extra, Inform.com, and KSFL. Welcome back, everyone. Fall camp is just around the corner for NDSU football. We're getting a little sneak peek and preview of all the position groups before we start back up. Dan Larson, the offensive line coach for NDSU, joins me now. Dan, thank you so much. How are you?
Doing great. Ready to get going. It's always exciting. We get back into office this week before we get started, and some meetings and watching our guys finish up some workouts and ready to get rolling next week.
I know. Can you believe it's already here? I mean, summer just flew by.
It goes by really quick, and there's good and bad with both of that parts. I mean, as soon as we usually get done with our recruiting camps in June, I think we're all start looking forward to August, and but having those nice couple of weeks of vacation in July helps out too. But yeah, we'll be ready to go come next week.
Oh, I'm ready to go. Dan, you've gotten some summer workouts in with your guys. Tell us a little bit of what you've seen from this offensive line group heading into the 2023 season.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's where the challenge here is you always have to replace good players, at every position. And so watching some of our guys really have some maturity and growth from the spring through the summer. Watching some new leadership start to come out of some guys, both in our, in our senior leadership roles, but then also a couple of underclassmen as well too. And then it's always exciting when you get freshmen in, and really excited about this freshman class. And so to have those guys on campus all summer, see them gelling with the upperclassmen, but also seeing them kind of take on a little personality of their own. I mean, there's a lot to be excited about, but been a lot of positives for sure since the end of last season.
New leadership. I love to hear that. Who have you seen step up and take on this leader role?
Well, Jake Kubas and Jalen Sandell are going to lead from the front just because of seniors. They've been around for a long time. Both guys that have been here for 4+ years. But then seeing some of that next group, Gray Zabel and Mason Miller and Brandon Westberg, some of those guys just stepped to the forefront, and it's really been impressive seeing and hearing those guys throughout some of their workouts, but then also just around some of the freshmen as well too. I'll ask some of our freshman guys who they've leaned on so far, who they've asked questions to, who's pulled them aside to help them. And it's not just one or two guys every time, it's multiple players that are doing it. And that part is really exciting. It just, tells me that it's a group that's invested in everybody. And they want to see this group get as good as we possibly can get.
Year after year, you guys produce these phenomenal offensive line players. We've seen Cody Mauk, Cordell Volson. Who are you expecting to step up and kind of be that big guy on the line this year?
Well, I think your eyes kind of automatically go to Jalen and Jake just because they both have played in a lot of football games. But I think, from our standpoint, we've always been blessed with, yes, you've had top end players. But the one thing about those guys, they've always been, leaders of the offensive line. The goal at the beginning of the year is, it's not to have the 5 best offensive linemen on the field at any point in time. Is to have the best offensive line unit on the field. And so that part of it, we're working really hard to see kind of which 5 guys are going to gel together the best, in what roles, what positions. But I think your eyes kind of always go to your seniors, and then they kind of trickle down from there with some upperclassmen that have continued to get better or have played a lot of football games for you.
I think a guy that everyone gets excited about every year is Gray Zabel. Where have you seen improvement in his game this offseason?
Well, he has one guy that I think from a leadership standpoint, he's allowed his voice to not be shy in terms of using it. I mean, he's got, personality, he's got competitiveness. He can keep the room light. He can get them going when they need to get a little push. But then, the biggest thing that Gray's done and improved upon was something that we talked about after last year. Just had to get better with some fundamentals and some techniques. I mean, he was a guy that played for us a ton when Mason went down at the end of the year at right tackle, and probably had taken less than 2 practices worth of right tackle reps. So I mean, just from his standpoint, it's his competitiveness that allows him to jump in there. But I've seen a growth in his technique and his fundamentals. We're excited to see where he plays. He's got he can play basically any spot on the offensive line. So from our standpoint, it's going to be finding what's the best fit for him, what's the best fit for the unit, and then going from there.
You mentioned that Mason Miller went down with a season-ending injury last season. Where is he at in his recovery process?
Yeah, he's looked good. I mean, it's a bit by bit process. All injuries are, they all take different timelines for every player. Mason was a guy that continued to get a few more reps as the spring went on. I know he'll tell you that he feels 100%, and so until he shows us something different, we'll be ready for him to go. But he's moving around well. He seems to be really confident. We're excited to get a healthy version of him back on the field for sure. But until they tell us anything different, we'll be excited to get him back on the field and let him hit the ground running.
Traditionally, we've seen some of the biggest personalities on this offensive line. Who do you think will be that big personality this year? I talked with Jalen in the spring, and he's like, that's not going to be me. Who do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, I would probably imagine it'll probably lean a little bit more towards Gray. I mean, he just, he's the interesting part of it is they all have different personalities. It's just which one is, I don't see anybody, and I'm good without us having somebody that takes over for first down signals. I'd rather just have the referees tell us that it's a first down and then move on from there. But I think the biggest thing is that it's personalities that can help the room, get through some hard days. I think personalities that can help when it's, inches to go on third and fourth down, get our guys, locked in and ready to go. We might not have any first down signalers, but, hopefully we've got some guys that can keep things light and keep it moving from there.
Well, I'm excited to see the energy they bring to the field. You talked about how you like this freshman class for the offensive line this year. We have A.J. Hines, Bo Johnson, Jack Lewinsky. What gets you so excited about these young guys?
Well, I think they're all, they love football. I think that's a big part of it. These guys all had a desire to be Bison. We kind of set out from the very beginning. This is the characteristics, this is the attributes that we're looking for with this offensive line class, where we felt like we needed to fill some competitive gaps. And, all these guys they've come in, they put their heads down, they just have wanted to work and be really good at football. And then on top of it, the cherry on top of it is they're all really good in the classroom, at least from a high school standpoint to college. So it's that combination that we find are really valuable here. Good in the classroom, great on the field, great in the classroom, great on the field. They all seem to have that, but there's a work ethic to them. I think one of our coaches made the comment, they're like a pack of flamingos right now. They all just kind of work in one direction. So you just see the whole herd just kind of work. So there's a closeness with them that you're excited about as a coach as well too. And they'll go through some ups and downs, but I know it's going to be a great group that takes a lot of pride being, Bison and being Rams.
The transformation pictures for the offensive linemen are my favorite things to see, what they look like coming in as freshmen by the time they graduate. I was talking with A.J. Hines in the spring, and he was telling me that he wants you guys want him to grow 2 inches and gain 50 pounds. How are you guys able to do that?
Well, I think the one part of it is that our strength conditioning coach and Coach Kramer, does a phenomenal job with building these guys up the right way. We've got a certain look to us on the line of scrimmage, and it's one that is, guys that are explosive, they're powerful, but we recruit athletic guys that we don't want them to lose any of their athleticism either. So, I think it's a combination of the movement skills that we try to have our guys do, but a lot of it starts with Coach Kramer and his staff and the time and effort they put into guys on the line of scrimmage, and then you want to just find those guys that love football and they want to keep getting better, and then they don't really blink too hard when you say, hey, you got to you're here at 245 and we can't wait for you to be 295. Just get it done in the right way. We still want you to be able to move and be athletic, and as long as we don't lose those attributes, we keep building on the other ones, we'll be great.
The work ethic amongst this group is just so incredible to watch. Dan, football is officially back next year. Before you go, tell us, what are you the most excited for this season?
Well, I'm excited just for our program as a whole. I mean, we're working kind of off of a unfamiliar feeling for us from a season standpoint. And, anytime that you have some setbacks and you end the season the way that we did, there's a little bit of, I think, humility and humbleness within the program to get back to work and reestablish it. It's probably something that we've done as a program really well, no matter what the end of the season's been, is kind of just getting back to square one and getting going again. But I'm looking for this team to become, a great variation of NDSU football. And it's been a long time probably since this team has probably not been talked about and not been looked at as, contenders or threats or anything along those lines. And now I'm excited for this group to grow. We've got a lot of really hungry players that weren't satisfied with how last year went in a lot of different areas. I know the coaching staff echoes that same sentiment as well too. And I'm excited to see this team overall just continue to get better. We had a great spring. we've had a phenomenal summer, and looking forward to watching it kind of unfold over the next couple of weeks in fall camp, and then kicking off the season at US Bank Stadium versus Eastern Washington for sure.
Well, I'm excited to see what this 2023 team looks like. Dan, thank you so much for joining me on the show and sharing all your insights on the offensive line.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Logan. Thank you.
Have a great day. Appreciate you. Dan Larson, everyone, the offensive line coach for NDSU football. It's here. Football is officially here next week. So excited. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Drew Trafton will join me on the show. We'll break down some of the breaking news in the NFL. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and Forum.com and KSFL.
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
Everyone, Drew Trafton, fresh off of a trip from Seattle. How are you?
Good. It was a trip. Yeah, it was a long one. We did a car thing. We decided we were gonna do this, like we could either do it, fly out there and like just spend a couple days there and come back, or we could like kind of do little stops along the way. Like my hometown, where I went to college, where I met my wife, that sort of thing. Because my kids hadn't seen like the college part of that, and so we wanted to do that. So we were like, we could turn it into a road trip, take like a whole week off, and just do this thing there and back. And it was a 3,000-mile round trip altogether. We added it all up.
So how many hours?
Well, it was divided between 3 days out and 3 days back. I figured it was like 40 some odd hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of road time. But it actually went smoothly, which is crazy because we had an 8-year-old in the car. We had a not quite 2-year-old in the car, so we didn't know how that was going to go. But it was awesome. It was really fun, and we got to do a couple baseball games in there. We, like just a lot of fun, different things.
What was your favorite thing that you did while you're out there?
Ooh, they have a museum in Seattle that I went to when I was in like kindergarten, called the Pacific Science Center.
Okay.
And it's like this interactive like museum basically where you can do like a ton of different like tinkering with things, and like they do like a lot of like physics experiments live and stuff like that. And so we did that one of the mornings before we went to a baseball game. And it was just outrageously fun. Like
really?
to play with your kids. Like, I mean, and like, then you'd get kind of sidetracked by something like an exhibit, like on sound. They had this one on sound where you just like would play with like all of like these different, sound experiments. Basically, like you could like talk into this dish, and there would be another dish like across the room, and you could hear what each other were
That's
saying.
really cool.
Even though there's like nothing but just acoustics,
Uh-huh.
in the room, and there were a bunch of other people in the room, and you could play with like pitch and things like that. And they had like this gigantic guitar set up. You could go into the inside of it and hear what it's like when somebody pulls strings from
that's
inside
sweet.
it. Like it was just like all these really cool things. And so we spent hours and hours doing that sort of thing. And so that was probably my favorite. But I love Seattle sports, and so our hotel was literally across the street from both stadiums.
That's awesome.
So it was really fun.
And how about the Seattle yesterday?
Yeah, what a comeback!
What a win! I
Yeah.
think I saw something that was the first time in 32 years that they've won a game like that.
It's been a while. It's
Yeah.
since the early 90s, I think it was that they pulled that off.
Of course,
And-
it's against the Twins too.
yeah. Yeah, and the last time they did it, I think it was against the White Sox, so something with the AL Central, I guess. But both, so like I watched the Twins and the Mariners play twice, and then of course, the series went to Minneapolis. Man, those teams just really don't want to be above 500. Like in some of the weird stuff that just happens. It's just like at this point of the season, it's so frustrating that they can't quite get over that, that threshold, and you could like feel it in the stands, like just like this tension of like, oh, like what's going, like come on. And I was sitting next to a couple Twins fans, my wife included, and like it's just like the same. It's just like these teams are like the same.
You're like hoping for a win, but you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, and it's like well, they're either gonna be awesome or terrible, or but it's like they just refuse to break through this like mire of mediocrity this season, and it's just like it's almost like there are these invisible strings holding them back. Like, and what the weaknesses are, what the vulnerabilities are, and how they attack you each day, depending on the matchups and stuff. But it is like insanely frustrating.
Oh, I'm
this
sure.
year, I think, for both fan bases.
Yeah. Well, no, 100%. And I can't even imagine how Twins were feeling because they were red hot, and then that happens.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you talk about being good or bad. There's been lots of mixed reactions from the Seattle Seahawks throwback jerseys. I know you were able to see them.
Yeah, I love them.
You love them?
So when I was there, I had been waiting for these for years, and I knew that in the middle of July at some point they were going to do this. So I was like, there's a chance that they release them when I'm there. And it just so happened, like the last day we're there, they announced a couple days out, like, yeah, we're going to release them this day. So I was like, well, I'm going to be like at a hotel across the street from the team store. Like I'm going to the launch party. So 2 days before, I go over to the team store early, and I'm like, are you guys going to do anything for this like launch? And they're like, yeah, so off the record, and like at this time, like if you
got the
come over
inside
here,
scoop.
yeah, I felt
Wow.
like, and they showed me like the area, like this whole thing's gonna look different, and like they were packing stuff up, and I'm like, this is gonna be kind of cool. So I went over on Wednesday morning for the launch, and it was pretty neat. Like I brought some pictures. I don't know if we've got these to pop up here or not. Yeah, so this is like a whole like,
Oh, the TVs are great.
yeah, like bulb TVs, and
Oh
on
my
the
gosh.
screens there, they're playing highlights from different seasons in the 90s. Because the whole
That's cool.
yeah, the whole concept here is these are the 1990s jerseys, because this was a part of the franchise history where they weren't great. Like they're not a good team like for the bulk of the 90s. But this is when the ownership changed hands and it became like they started building the culture of what they are today. And so that's kind of what they're going with. I think they look incredible. I
Okay.
love the color palette. I've always loved the color palette of the blue, the royal blue, and then that green color. Like I just think it works like really well.
Do you
And
like the silver helmets?
I do like the silver
Okay.
helmets. Yeah, I like the contrast. And what they've done this time around, and it's really hard to see, is they've actually like made the logo slightly like it's the original logo, but they made it slightly like sleeker,
Mhm.
basically, so it fits onto the modern helmet a little bit better. It's not as
Okay.
chunky looking, and so it's just kind of like it. They made these really slight modifications, but they even like did some throwbacks to like the original stadium, the Kingdome that they played in. Like they're a lot of their marketing and stuff is going in that direction. So they're trying to make it look like as authentic as possible. You don't like the throwback?
It's all right. I mean, there's definitely worse
Yeah.
out there. I was saying this yesterday. I'm not a fan of like super bright colors. Like I
Okay.
just like I'm a very boring person when it comes to colors. But I think we have a graphic made of all of the throwback jerseys that have been released. I want to get your thoughts
Yeah.
on all of them because my favorite by far is the Houston Oilers throwback jerseys that they're bringing back
Yeah.
to Nashville. That's my favorite.
So that came out like after the Seahawks one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers throwback had already come out.
Uh-huh.
Like, so I had seen like a bunch of these, and Minnesota came out after as well. And I like the like just the block lettering
Yeah.
that, and just the simple jersey design and on like a lot of these. Like, I mean, if I had to rank them,
Yes, rank them. I was going to ask you.
I put Tampa 1.
I do love Tampa.
It's creamsicle. It's like it's so
awesome.
unique.
Yeah.
That whole look is so awesome.
Mhm.
I'd put the Oilers jerseys too because
Okay.
I like the colors. There's something about that helmet, just the oil derrick, that just like looks really cool. Like I think it's just super classic. I would put Seahawks 3.
Okay.
And it really like for me like it's just really cool. It's unique to that area. Like that logo is supposed to be like a totem,
Mhm.
like a totem logo, which is totally unique and to the tribes that live in that area. And I think it works really well. I'd put the Vikings actually 4.
I do like them. Yeah.
And just because it's a return to, but the way they modified the sleeve to work with the current like Nike design, I think that works really well. The Giants ones, I think that those should just be their jerseys, like flat out. And I think the same with the Eagles. Like
I like the Eagles.
why go away from the Kelly Green ever?
I really like the
Like
Eagles.
I know that we went through that 90s phase. Like in my high school had the same color scheme, and we did the same thing. We went to like this hunter, like green color, like that forest green color. And it's like it works, but it's not like there's something about Kelly Green that just kind of pops and
I
it
love that
works and it
color.
looks really well.
Yeah.
So I think that they should stick with those. Both of those franchises, I'd say. Don't like the Jets.
Mm-mm.
And I know that that's their like it just looks kind of like boxy almost, and it just like that whole release, like it just kind of looks like the white on white thing. Like I'm not a huge fan of that.
Mhm.
Like I don't think NFL jerseys look good when it's white on white. Like I think the pants should always be a different color.
Okay.
That's just my take on that. So I like, and then the Patriots, like we've seen that one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like it's
a classic.
And it's not like that big of a departure from what they're doing now, other than of course the Patriot Pat helmet, right? Or the whatever they call that guy, But that it's classic. But yeah, no, I like the throwback directions. I'm so glad that the NFL has finally ditched this one helmet rule for most of the franchises. Like, and I don't understand. I've never understood how college colleges can have so many different uniform options and helmet options, and yet that's a nonprofit, right? Like, I mean, and their merchandising isn't quite what the pro level is, but the NFL is so strict on its, because it's like you could have so many, like we're seeing now with like the Broncos released yesterday, like that snow cap helmet.
Did you like that?
I like that old logo a lot.
The snorting Bronco?
I don't like the ginger horse. Like I don't like. I've never liked their current one. Like I just
don't know how to think about
behind
any of it. Yeah. Okay.
I like the either their old helmet, like the light blue with the orange D, or this one, that new one that they have is really cool. Though it's just white with that orange D locale, or decal. It's really neat looking. And Cleveland going all white too. I like that. Or Arizona going all black, and the Saints doing the all black. Like those are cool looks.
I don't really like black, like all black.
Like the matted all black look.
I don't know, because Washington did that, and I didn't really like it.
Oh, with their third deal.
But I guess that's a little bit different. But
yeah, because that's an alternate thing too.
Yeah, but Washington hasn't done their throwbacks yet, and I was saying like it would be hilarious if their throwback was like when they were the Washington football team.
Yeah,
that would be so
throwback
funny.
to 3 years ago.
And it would make me so mad, because when they did do the throwback jerseys, that's like pure burgundy and gold, but then the helmets are like maroon with bright yellow, and it looked awful. It looked so bad. So I'm hoping maybe they'll come up with a better color scheme this year, but I don't know.
Well, I think Nike's doing something kind of clever where they're slightly even the throwback, they're slightly modifying it so it's modernized. And I know some people like hate that, but I think that looks like, I think that you pay homage to tradition, but then you're not like backtracking to where it's like a spectacle,
right?
You know, like it looks like it belongs on a modern field.
Yes.
And so it doesn't take away from the game itself. Like, you know, like sometimes like I feel like Major League Baseball will do that with like some of their throwbacks, like they'll go like old timey and stuff. And it just doesn't work. You know, like those jerseys, that style just doesn't pan out anymore. And so it just looks out of place. But if you can do a throwback where it's not taking away from the game, you know, and like the fit's going to feel right for the players, so it doesn't impact their performance and stuff like that, I think it works.
Right.
And so I like what Nike's doing, and I hope they do more of it.
I do too.
I'd really like to see this like continue. And I mean, people are going to buy, like people buy NFL merchandise like nobody's business. There's a line out the door the morning that the Seahawks did that.
I'm sure.
That, you know, because people like walked in and they were like dropping money left and right on different jerseys that they wanted for these players. And it's like there's a good opportunity there, and it's fun, you know, like, and you can do things with different rivalries and different eras of the NFL. You have a 100-year history to pull from. Like, don't limit yourself. You know, like
you should be a spokesperson to them.
Yeah, well, if they want to, I'll tell them where to send the check. But it just works. Like I like it. And so I'm a big fan, and I love Seattle's throwback a lot.
They're all right. I'll put them like 5th on the
Wait till
list.
you see it. Like, wait till you see it out
person?
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I think it's gonna pop.
We'll revisit when we see that then. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, there's some news out of San Francisco with our guy Trey Lance. So I'm gonna get your thoughts on that. Yep, we'll be back right after this. You're watching Hot Mic on WDAY Extra, KSFL, and Inform.com. Welcome back, everyone. Drew Trafton live in studio. Thanks so much for joining me this morning, Drew.
Glad to be here. That is some intense music.
Is it
We
a
were
little
like,
loud?
No, it was like kind of like the beat of it was like, we're going to get into some
There's
stuff.
like
I'm a little worried because I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, maybe, I mean, Dom, oh, it was a Dom
That was a Dom
song?
choice.
I remember.
Why are you guys using music that Dom picked out?
Okay, that's what I said because when we started doing trivia, the music, I think Dom I don't know who picked it, but it sounded like I was like in a spa. And I was like, I need more intense music for this trivia because I'm about to fall asleep trying to think about my answers. Anyways, there is some breaking news yesterday out of San Francisco. Obviously, our guy Trey Lance is there.
Yeah.
But Brock Purdy is back. Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, breaking
Cleared
news.
to play. What does that mean for Trey Lance? What do you think?
Well, that San Francisco quarterback room is always a conundrum. I was shocked that Brock Purdy made a recovery that quickly after having surgery. It is amazing. Like, I mean, you can go back to, like just how quickly these players are recovering from these major surgeries now is just like boggling to me. I mean, like you can think about that one exception. I remember Adrian Peterson coming back from that ACL tear, like within, like it seemed like months, like it was just fast. But before that, like an injury like to a ligament or something like that's serious that requires surgery, like you're out for a year if you ever make it back, like and the fact that Purdy is like good to go, that's interesting. I think like all of the work that we've seen Trey Lance put in the offseason, which they've been very like either his team, I think it's his team, is putting all of that out on social media. Like he's working with Patrick Mahomes. Like look at this video. Like look at his throwing motion. Kyle Shanahan praising his footwork and stuff. Like in that press conference, that was interesting to me because obviously Kyle Shanahan knew this was going to come out.
Right.
That Brock Purdy's good to go. But they talked about how Trey's looked really good, and that all my quarterbacks put in the work. All of those things, like that makes me feel like he was the whole offseason. They knew like he was just going to be competing for a backup role. But then they bring in Sam Darnold, which is really interesting. If they knew that Brock Purdy was going to be like cleared and good to go, why do that?
Right.
Yeah. Like so, to me, it seems like they're trying to set Trey Lance up to be traded.
Yeah.
During camp.
The vibes I'm kind of getting.
Yeah. Like just I mean, doesn't it seem like that? Like the storylines are like setting up where it's like, oh, okay, this team is going to be, which will be interesting because we also have Carson Wentz out there for local fans. And it's like, he is not signed. He's said, I'm looking for an opportunity, like to see how camp plays out, all of that. And now you have a situation where Trey Lance is definitely going to be on the trading block. Like there's no way that San Francisco is going into this season knowing they have Sam Darnold and Trey Lance right behind Brock Purdy, establishing Brock Purdy as the starter, and then saying like these other two guys are going to both make the team, the roster. Like that's just not like, I mean, they've had bad quarterback luck. So I guess I could see where they'd go in and be like, well, we need to have somebody who can chuck it. But three of them, like three of those guys who are probably viable, like journeymen at least, like to soak up some snaps for you if you're going through an injury, seems odd.
Well, Kyle Shanahan said that Purdy's going to be taking first team reps. So that's kind of,
right.
Signaling, okay, he's going to start probably the season unless something happens during training camp, which knock on wood, it doesn't.
And then the other thing that he said that I thought was really interesting was that they're going to rest Brock Purdy every third day, right?
Yeah.
Saying, I'm going to get these other guys first team reps no matter what. Like you don't let that cat out of the bag, I don't think, unless you want somebody to know that he's getting first team reps.
So, okay, if Trey Lance was going to get traded, where do you see him fitting in? Because I feel like everyone kind of already has their guy.
Yeah. I would look at Atlanta maybe as a, if like Desmond Ridder were to get hurt, it's tough to see, I mean, Miami, if Tua's like, gets hurt early or something.
The fact that Tua is still playing is crazy.
Yeah, like there are some, like, I mean, there's all this, these rumors that New England's not super hot on Mac Jones. They're gonna have to make a decision. You look at Chicago, like if like they really don't believe in Justin Fields, but they've got like draft capital. They Arizona's got draft capital, so you don't look at them. If the Rams are, like, if Stafford goes down, like, but they also have Stetson Bennett now, and so it's like there are a lot of weird like quarterback situations where you could see like one person gets hurt and then there's this domino effect. But I'm struggling to see like a real natural fit for him. Do you have a spot in mind?
I literally don't. I don't, because I think wherever he goes, he's going to be the backup, which I don't think he necessarily wants to be. And I don't think he ever thought he was going to be the backup once he got drafted, third overall?
Yeah, and the haul that the 49ers gave for him, I mean, they gave away 3 first-rounders and I think a third, and there's so much that's attached to that value in the NFL. Like, how do you not give him that opportunity to play at some point? I mean, they fell into Purdy for sure.
Right.
Like, I mean, they drafted him, all credit.
And that
where it's
run
due.
that they went on to, like, definitely helped him, like, earn that starting spot. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't go without starting him after last season. But then with Trey, I mean, we really haven't seen much of him.
No.
I think that's why people are like, oh, I don't know about Trey anymore. Because we just haven't seen him play.
And he's been injured, but it's like, at some point, it's like that, bag of spinach you have in your fridge. It's like, if you don't use it, like,
it's going to go to waste.
Yeah. And it's like, he has to see real NFL pressures and work in those schemes and like see game pace to know, like, if he can actually do it. I mean, did the Vikings take a look at somebody like Trey Lance? Like, there's all of that conversation.
I think people would love that.
I do. Oh, yeah. I mean, local boy done good, like coming home and getting a chance to compete. I think, would the Vikings trade that capital? What would that say about Kirk Cousins' situation? Does that invite unwanted attention, and pressure on your team for him to play when you're already paying Kirk that much, and he's in a situation where, what's going to happen with him next year? I don't know if you invite that distraction necessarily.
Right. And Washington, I mean, they have Sam Howell, who's their projected starter. Then you have Jacoby Brissett, which doesn't do much for me. So, maybe them, but I don't think they're really looking for a quarterback.
Right.
Just who is looking for a quarterback right now?
One team that I think is maybe interesting too would be like Denver, where it's like, Sean Payton can say like, Russell Wilson's not my guy. Like, he wasn't my guy. And they have one season left where I think it's like really untenable to take that like cut in salary and like to deal with that and swallow that cap hit. But if you bring in a Trey Lance, it's like, hey, you're a backup this season, but like then they'd have like at least a succession plan in place because they have no draft capital at all. Like they are like and they've got a lot of holes to fill in a very competitive division. So that might be like an interesting
now that you're
possibility,
saying that,
like where you could slot him in there maybe. And if Russ really starts struggling like mid-season and like Sean Payton's not the answer, it's like you've had 2 seasons where you have like noticeable decline there. Maybe Trey Lance makes sense. That could be also a spot where Carson Wentz comes in though too. And you bring him in and he gets you through the season and then you reevaluate. I don't know. Like it's crazy. Like, but this situation all of a sudden got really weird. The fact that we didn't hear anything about Brock Purdy being like ready to go.
No, it was just camp starts. He's ready. He's back. We're like, oh, okay.
That is the like when teams can keep that under wraps and like parties can keep that under wraps, like they're working in cahoots, people. Like that was like, that was super coordinated. And that, if I were Trey Lance or his representation,
he's so mad.
Yeah. Like that would be,
that's just shady.
It's like, what's going on? Like, excuse me. And maybe he knew, maybe this is all like, they knew like, and they had this, it was a very transparent situation from the get go for them, from their perspective. But on the flip side of that, like, like that would be a lot to swallow, if you're Trey Lance and you're looking for your opportunity.
It's just such a tough situation for him to be in. You don't want to see him in that situation, but he is. So before you go, give us your top pick. If Trey Lance was going to get traded, where you see him? Denver? Yeah,
I like that situation. I like that situation for him.
Yeah.
Like I think, and that's coming from, of course, a jaded Seahawks fan perspective, but we, like we're beyond that. We're beyond Russ, and stuff. And I want Russell Wilson to play well because I do like him as a quarterback. And, but I think that would be a really good fit for Trey if things keep trending the way they were trending last season for Denver. I think that's a good fit.
I like it. I would agree with you.
It's a weird fit.
It's a weird fit, but it makes sense in a weird way.
Yeah. And maybe there's a really obvious team out there that I'm just not thinking of.
I mean, when you say Atlanta, I could see that as well, maybe. You just don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how training camps play out, too, because they're all just getting started today.
Yeah. And now we're back in the NFL. Like, isn't it crazy? Like, it's just like they never go away. They're so good. That marketing team, their like branding is just, it's the American pastime now, and we never escape it. There's no off season. There's no downtime.
Well, I think people just like go out and search for it too.
Oh yeah,
Because like in months of like May, June, you're like, okay, what are we doing now? I'm excited it's back.
Yeah.
Best time of the year.
Yeah, me too.
Drew, thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having me, Logan.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, Dick Bremer will join the show, talk all about the Minnesota Twins. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Hot Mic.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
A drive to left field. He has done it again. And a leaping catch on the warning track. Got it. And the Twins complete the sweep.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Wednesday, which means Dick Bremer joins us on the show. Dick, late night for you last night, and the Twins just fell apart late in the game. What happened?
Well, it's been true in this game, Logan, for as long as they've been playing it. It's not a good idea to walk people generally. And when you've got a lead in the late innings, you just can't do that. And the Twins issued a couple of leadoff walks, one in the 8th inning, one in the 9th inning. There was a back-to-back walks in the 8th, allowing the Mariners to at least give them an opportunity to get back into the game. Credit to them. They took advantage of it, tied it in the 8th, then another leadoff walk, set up a 3-run 9th inning. So these things happen over the course of a long season. And the best thing about the game of baseball, you can have a really tough loss like the Twins had last night. Got a chance to redeem yourself the very next day, in this case, a noon game. So quick turnaround, and maybe that's a good thing for a team that thought they had a win last night.
Right. Well, we really appreciate you coming on just a few hours before game time. Do you like these quick turnarounds?
They're okay. It's got to be tough on the players, particularly the catchers. Now, the Twins are going to have a different catcher. They've been alternating catchers now for about 4 weeks anyway. But it's all part of it. One of the best parts of this job, and this is going to sound weird, but one of the best parts of this job is getting here hours before game time during a day game. And right now there are 6 members of the grounds crew cutting the grass, raking the infield, getting the field ready for the baseball game. And that's something fans don't get a chance to see, but I really relish it because it kind of reminds me every time I see it that this is a big production here. There's a big baseball game today, and helps me get fired up to be able to watch it.
Some relaxing moments before big games. I love that. That's one of my favorite parts, is just getting to games early and getting to relax and just soak in the moments. Like you said, it's a quick turnaround. Twins have been doing really well since the All-Star break, and we chatted right before that break, and you were saying they need to switch something up. What changed to allow them to play better after this break?
Well, I don't know. It might have been just the break itself, but they were starting to show some signs of playing better baseball even before the break. They had a terrible series here at Target Field against the Orioles, but they'd won 5 of 6 prior to that. And I think we got a hint even back then that this team is capable of playing at a level we all expected in the first half, and now we're seeing it in the second half. I'll be curious how the game goes today. Good teams find a way of dismissing a disappointing loss like the one last night and come back the next day and play a really good game. Hey, and if the Twins end up winning this game today, heading out on the road, that's a 5-1 homestand. Well, that's pretty good. They got a 3-game lead in the American League Central. At the All-Star break, they were in second place by a half game. So things are trending in the right direction. And so if you don't let a disappointing game like last night carry over into the next game or 2 or 3, the Twins will be in pretty good shape, I think. A tough little stretch here because we're going to be gone for a week. 3 games in Kansas City, 3 in St. Louis with some off days. And then we're home for just 3 games, and then we're back on the road again for a week. So this team will have, 13 of the next 16 or something like that on the road. And if they continue to play good baseball, I think they're going to be in really good shape here by the middle of August.
In the game of baseball, how tough is it to go on the road, then come home for a few games, then go back on the road, just mentally? How hard is that?
Well, yeah. It's not ideal, but then when you get through that stretch, in this case, the Twins, when they get through that stretch, then it's just the opposite, where they've got something like 12 of the next 14 at home. So it all goes in cycles. It's all part of it. I think teams that end up winning, members of those teams end up winning playoff series, maybe even a World Series, will tell you that good road trips and the bonding that you develop with your teammates when you play well on the road goes a long way toward helping build a championship. So we'll see whether this stretch here, where the Twins are going to be playing a lot of games away from Target Field, might be that type of situation for this year's Twins team.
Yeah, so this is a big stretch coming up for them. You talk about them bouncing back after a late night game, a late game loss. What do you need to see from the Twins today?
Well, it usually depends so much on the next day's starting pitcher. In this case, it'll be Joe Ryan, who did not pitch against Seattle in the 4-game series last week. So he'll be making the start. Joe's pretty steady. He's pretty reliable, and the Twins are hoping that basically he can do what Pablo Lopez did last night, gave the Twins 7 really good innings, and then the bullpen had some issues. But the bullpen was pretty tapped out last night, too. Griffin Jacks wasn't available. Joan Duran probably was available, but will benefit from having the extra day off, and they'll both be in the slots they're accustomed to for today's game if the Twins have a late inning lead.
I saw Ortega got optioned down and Josh Winder was pulled up. What are you hoping to see from him if he does play today?
Winder, just kind of a utility pitcher, I guess, in whatever the situation might be. The Twins have essentially 2 of them now. Cole Sands hasn't pitched for a while, and he'd be available to eat up some innings. But the thing to watch is what happens while the Twins are on the road and whether they make a move with veteran former Cy Young Award winner Dallas Keuchel, who's with the Twins in their AAA roster. He's been pitching well, and the Twins have held on to him for a reason. And the reason might be, I don't know this, but the reason might be to make a start or 2 on this next road trip to Kansas City and St. Louis. So there may be a transaction coming after the game today, and we may end up seeing Dallas Keuchel on the team plane when we fly to Kansas City.
I know people here are high on Keuchel and they want to see him play, so I'm sure they'll be pumped if that does happen. We talk about the bullpen, and I think the biggest thing is trying to find consistency for the Twins. How or are we going to see that at some point this season, do you think?
Well, it's a challenge for all 30 teams to get consistency out of your bullpen, and the Twins, frankly, had been getting that from their relievers up until this series. Emilio Pagan had been really good, and then he gave up the game-tying home run to Julio Rodriguez last night. Griffin Jacks gave up a big home run to Colton Wong the night before. So it comes and it goes. It's like, waves on a beach. It just seems like, the wave comes in, the tide comes in, then the tide comes out. And that's kind of the way it is, not just with the Twins, but throughout baseball. And the team that can, find that consistency for a longer period of time is the team that's going to win the American League Central and then potentially do well in the playoffs and get to the World Series.
Yeah, the Twins have a nice cushion in the AL Central, 3 games ahead of Cleveland. How big is that before this last home game and before they go on the road?
Yeah, well, it's nicer to be in first place in late July than it is to be in second place. But I think what we've seen so far might be what we will continue to see. Cleveland's just kind of bobbing around 500 where the Twins were before this nice stretch after the All-Star break. And Cleveland will have those stretches too, where they play really well, have a couple of good series. And the way it's played out so far is when the Guardians have an easy team to play like Kansas City right now, well, then they're going to do well in that series. And if the Twins are playing a tougher team like Seattle, things can swing back and forth. What's important to note for Twins fans is when we leave here, Twins will have an off day tomorrow, but then they get the Royals and they get another hugely disappointing team in St. Louis, and the Guardians are playing the White Sox and somebody else. So while the Twins can only control what they can control, the standings are dictated by, it seems like, who Cleveland is playing, who the Twins are playing. And if one team is facing a tougher team like Atlanta, Twins haven't faced the Texas Rangers yet. I don't know who Cleveland's playing when the Twins are playing a good Texas team, but that's kind of the way it is. And unless and until either of the Twins start doing a lot better against some of the better teams, or the Guardians do that, this is just going to kind of go back and forth, I think, for a while. But yeah, the answer to your question is 3 games up with 60 games to go or whatever it is. It's nicer to be in first place than in second place.
I feel like it's always depending and moving parts with Cleveland in Minnesota year after year. It's just crazy. The game of baseball is so fun and so interesting. There's so many different things to factor in. We're going to head to break. Dick's going to stick around for a little bit more. We'll talk more about the Twins right after this. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and Forum.com and KSFL. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you all are having a great start to your Wednesday morning. It's Wednesday, which means Twins play-by-play broadcaster Dick Bremer joins us now on the show. Dick, quick turnaround for the Twins today, 12 p.m. pitch. What are the three keys for the Twins today to get a win over Seattle?
Well, again, it's going to rely on Joe Ryan doing what Joe Ryan does, hopefully pitch 6-7 effective innings. One thing that when you lose a game late, like the Twins did, giving up 4 runs in the 8th and 3 in the 9th, It's easy to overlook the fact that the Twins struck out 18 times last night. That's way too many times. And I mean, that's basically 2 outs per inning. And so we'd seen some signs of progress, some better at bats, but you just can't strike out that often and expect to win a ball game. So let's hope for better at bats here today. More balls put in play. Alex Kirilloff, the American League Player of the Week last week, had a rough night last night at the plate. He's not in the lineup. In fact, I can go ahead and give your viewers and listeners
let's hear it.
Twins starting lineup. So it'll be Carlos Correa playing short and leading off.
Okay.
Eddie Julian playing second base and hitting second. Max Kepler, the designated hitter, hitting third. Matt Wallner in right field hitting cleanup. Willie Castro hitting fifth and playing center field. Trevor Larnach hitting sixth and playing left field. Kyle Farmer at third base hitting seventh. Joey Gallo at first base hitting eighth. And Christian Vasquez, the catcher, hitting ninth. So let's hope that lineup puts the ball in play quite a bit more often than they did last night.
That sounds like a solid lineup to me. We've seen Carlos Correa find success late in the game. What's allowed him to see the ball so well later in the innings?
Well, it seems like the move to the leadoff spot has gotten him locked in. Now, why that would be, I don't know. But he's really done a nice job, particularly early in the ball game, getting some hits and some extra base hits. The Twins last night hit for the cycle in the first inning, but it all started with a Correa double. And we've seen this team do really well early in games scoring runs, but then every once in a while there'll be a game like that where the bats go in the deep freeze again after the third inning. So what the Twins are looking for is consistently better at bats, 1 through 9 in terms of the innings, and we didn't. The Twins didn't get that last night, and we'll hope to see that in the final game of the series today.
The word of the day seems to be consistency. I think that's what the Twins need to find, because that's something we keep saying week after week. Dick, we are a week out from the trade deadline. Can we expect the Twins to make any moves before then?
I think they will. I don't know how major they will be, but I think the Twins will be active. I think, again, last night with Caleb Thielbar out, and while they hope to have him back, the Twins and probably everybody else could use a left-handed reliever. Giovanni Moran has kind of been hot and cold, and he was cold last night, couldn't throw strikes. So I think the Twins will be active. I don't think there will be any major position players coming in. The Twins do expect Jorge Polanco back soon. Royce Lewis, they hope, will be back in the mix before too long. So they have some really good players on the injured list that they hope to get back soon. So that lessens the need to go out and try to swing a big deal for a Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, whatever. But I can see the Twins adding some pitching. That seems to be the top priority for all the teams that hope to do well in the postseason.
Who would you like the Twins to specifically go after?
Well, somebody could probably pry Josh Hader, the outstanding closer for the Padres, away. He's left-handed. He would improve a lot of teams' bullpens. But in the Twins' case, I don't think the Twins want to. I don't think Twins fans want the Twins to give up Royce Lewis to get Josh Hader for 2 months. And that might be what it might take to swing a deal like that. Hader was traded before the trade deadline last year. So I don't know. It's not who you would want to get, because there's no shortage of players out there that would help the Twins or any other contending team. But it's what you're willing to give up. And I think Royce Lewis has shown the Twins enough that, no, we want to hang on to him because he's going to be a cornerstone player of the future.
It'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm personally excited. I'm sure several moves will be made before then. Some news that came out of the Twin Cities yesterday was that Walker Jenkins officially signed his contract. What do the Twins like about him?
Well, he's got tremendous baseball skills, but above and beyond that, they really like the makeup. I had a chance to meet him yesterday for the first time. I can see why people raved about his makeup, his personality, his dedication to the game. So I suspect he's just a high school kid now, right? He didn't play his junior year because he had an injury, but I can see him potentially rising through the Twins minor league system rather quickly. We see more and more of that now in baseball. The Seattle starting pitcher today was drafted just 2 years ago, and he's been a key member of their pitching staff here at the big league level. So I could see something like that for this young man, because he sure leaves a good impression with you once you meet him.
Yeah, so what was your first impression of him?
Well, just a great personality, very polite to old timers like me. But of course, he'll have to adjust to life as a professional ball player. I think today or tomorrow he's going to report to Fort Myers, and he's going to start his life as a professional ball player. And when you're 18 years old, there's a lot that's thrown at you in a short period of time. So we'll see how he fares through that. Some guys do make that transition pretty easily. For others, it takes a while. I suspect he'll be in the first group where he adapts to it rather quickly.
Well, having that spotlight on you at 18 and that pressure is just incredible when they are able to handle that. You've been able to meet several rookies throughout your years. Who's one that left a lasting impression on you?
Well, the easy answer, I guess, would be Kirby Puckett. A long time ago when he came up to the Twins, I hadn't really heard much about the man, but he came up in 1984 and just won everybody over with his personality, his style of play. I'll tell you, this year, Eddie Julian has really impressed me. I'd never seen the man play, had never met him, but in his own way, he leaves a very positive first impression. He is one of the hardest workers on this team, and obviously one of the better hitters on the team as well. Anytime you come up and you have an impact on a team like he has, and you force the team to switch positions for a great player like Jorge Polanco, when Polanco comes back, looks like he'll be playing some third base, not second base, because the Twins want and need Julian's bat in the lineup. So the Twins have had some really good, impactful rookies over the years, and let's hope at some point Jenkins is on that list as well.
Oh, I'm sure he will be. I know you got to go soon. Tell us, what are you looking forward to the most in today's game against Seattle?
Well, hopefully a win, because as I said, a 5-1 homestand would be the best Twins homestand of the year. Hopefully, if you're good in this game, you have to have a short memory. And let's hope the Twins have a short memory after what happened last night.
All right, Dick, thank you so much. Stay cool out there. I know it's hot.
All right. Thanks, Logan.
Thank you. Good luck on the call. All right, everyone. Dick Bremer giving us all the insights on the Minnesota Twins ahead of their series finale against Seattle. Hopefully, like he said, they'll have a short memory and be able to turn it around. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll meet one of the newest faces for NDSU football. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Hot Mike on WDAY Extra and Forum.com and KSFL. Welcome back to Hot Mic, everyone. This show is flying by. I cannot believe that we're already in our final half hour. I've been having the best time with our guests. I knew that today was going to be a really fun show. NDSU football, it's never the off season. Like, technically it's the off season, but it never is. I just feel like every single week there's multiple people committing to NDSU football's class of 2024. This week, they got 2. First, it was McLean Miller, a running back out of Indiana, on Monday. Then yesterday, it was Noah Stommes, a offensive lineman from Eden Valley, Watkins, Minnesota, which is a familiar place because Jacob Strite, who plays tight end for NDSU football, is from there. And Josh Strite, who plays basketball for NDSU, is also from there. And turns out, Stommes is their cousin. I mean, how crazy. Such a small world. He has the best story. I was able to catch up with him yesterday. Take a listen. All right, Noah, congratulations on committing to NDSU. What made you want to be a Bison?
I would say the biggest thing would probably be the developing there, and they're really good at developing players, and I think I need a little bit of developing before I start playing football. So yeah, that, and the coaches are extremely nice and extremely understandable, and they have high hopes for me. So I just wanted to be a Bison because of that.
They have high hopes for you. What are those hopes?
I think they want me to eventually, get bigger and, continue to lift weights and gain a lot of weight to become an offensive lineman. And they think that because I have a good history of, playing basketball and being in track, that, I can move a little bit as an offensive lineman as well, too. So.
Yeah, so you're coming in as an offensive lineman. Is there a specific spot they envision you playing?
Yeah, I think they want me to play tackle just with my height.
How do you feel about that?
I'm excited. I'm super happy to be in the NDSU, be at NDSU now. So.
Yeah, and you said development. That's what they're big on. When you see players like Cody Malk, Cordell Volson, and their transformation pictures, and what they look like as freshmen, and then what they look like now at the professional ranks, I mean, how much does that fuel your fire?
Yeah, that's crazy how they can do that, and obviously, Coach Kramer is a big part of that. So I'm really happy to get going with Coach Kramer there.
So you mentioned that you're a multi-sport athlete, played basketball. Did you ever consider playing basketball in college, or did you know you wanted to do football?
Yeah, I would say up until like I started doing my camps in June, I kind of realized that I could be a good football player too. So I kind of switched to football, and yeah, before that I was kind of all in on basketball.
So this is a recent change.
Yes, I would say like within the last 2 months to a month, I've decided that I want to play football now. So
other than realizing that you had the potential to play college football, what was the moment where you were like, okay, this is what I'm going to pursue?
Yeah, I would say just like right when I walked on campus, and the coaches were extremely fired up about me. So that kind of got me fired up too, like to be a Bison. So I worked really hard at the camp, and yeah, ended up.
What were they doing that made you say that they were fired up about you?
They were just, really focused in on me, and kept asking me a lot of questions, and they knew that, I went to Eden Valley Watkins, and actually 2 of my other cousins play there. One plays football and one plays basketball. So they kind of knew a little bit about that at Eden Valley Watkins.
Okay, so I was going to ask you that because I saw the Strite brothers. Jacob plays football. Josh plays basketball here at NDSU. I was going to ask what the relationship is. So you guys are cousins?
Yeah, my mom is their dad's sister, so we're first cousins.
That's crazy. So what did they say when you told them that you were going to come and play at NDSU?
Yeah, they were super happy for me, and yeah, they're excited to see me commit there.
Did they have any idea that you were considering coming here? Did you talk to them at all throughout this process?
Yeah, they kind of helped me out with the process a lot, and yeah, they were extremely helpful with that.
That's so cool well, I guess Jacob won't be here when you get here, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay. But still, that's awesome that you're continuing the family tradition. What other schools were you looking at potentially going to?
I would say the biggest one was University of Minnesota Duluth for football. Other than that, like possibly I was thinking Northern State too. So yeah.
Okay, so what made NDSU stand out amongst all those schools?
Just their level of play, I guess, and they have a good history of winning championships, and that's something I want to be part of. So that's why I chose NDSU.
Noah, if you could describe your style of play and the player that we're going to see when you get here to Fargo, how would you describe yourself?
I would say I'm a quick big guy. After I put on some weight, I think I can be really dangerous when I'm on the offensive line.
How much weight do they want you to put on?
I think they want to get me up to, probably at my senior year, at least 300 pounds. So
And you're what, 6'7", 280 pounds right now?
I'm 6'7", 230 pounds right now.
And they want you to gain 70 pounds?
Yeah. Yep.
Gosh. Were you like, how am I going to do that? Or were you like, okay, yeah, that's no problem?
Yeah, that's no problem, especially with Coach Kramer in there. He knows exactly what he's doing with his strength and conditioning program. So I'm super excited about that.
That is crazy. Well, you're going to be eating a lot, I guess. So it's once you get here. What are you looking forward to the most, Noah?
Yeah, just being with players. They're all most of them are from small towns like me, and playing with those offensive linemen and playing with my teammates. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, Noah, congratulations. We can't wait to have you up here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Noah Stommes, everyone. Super excited for him and his commitment to the Bison. He is now the 19th commitment for the 2024 football recruiting class for NDSU, the second this week, which is just so insane how many people commit to NDSU that early. Earlier this week, McLean Miller, he's a running back out of Indiana. He committed to NDSU. And it's funny because he pushed himself onto NDSU's radar. They didn't look at him, but he took a chance on himself, sent NDSU his video, his highlight reel, his transcript, and he said, look, I like your style of play. I think I would fit in. I'm a downhill big back. Please take a look at my tape and let's talk. And they invited him to camp. Showed out well at camp. They offered him on the spot once camp was over. Miller rushed for 979 yards, 11 touchdowns on 171 carries during his junior season, which is insane. I was able to chat with him yesterday. We're going to have him on the show tomorrow. And his story is also just really cool. And, being one of these guys that took a chance on himself. And once he does get here and has a successful career here at NDSU, that's just going to be such a feel-good story. And he kept talking about how far away from home he's moving. He's never really been away from home. And he said that he's nervous, but excited. He loved Fargo. And I told him, I was like, honestly, I moved really far away from home too. And I was scared as well. But the people here, the culture that NDSU has created, I said, you're going to have no problem feeling like home in just a matter of days or weeks. And he got really excited. He said he felt like that just the second he was on campus. So we'll hear more from him tomorrow. Lewis Walker, the defensive backs coach for NDSU, is going to come on the show tomorrow. He's going to share some insight on what's going on with that position group, because the secondary, I think, has the most questions this year. I personally have the most questions about the secondary this year. So he'll be able to just share a little bit about what's going on there. I would love to hear what you guys have questions about for NDSU football. Please feel free to tweet at me, shoot me emails. I love when you guys send me emails asking questions or just having discussions. I get emails like that all the time. And I love just hearing what you guys have to think, because, there's stuff that the media wants to know. But I want to know what you guys want to know. I want to hear your thoughts, your concerns, or not even concerns, just general questions that you have about this 2023 NDSU football team. We heard Dan Larson say earlier on the show, the offensive line coach for the Bison, saying that this is the first year that NDSU hasn't really been the front runner to win the FCS. And he said that that's going to have them play with a chip on their shoulder. And they haven't really been the part of discussion at the top. So I just want to know what you guys are interested in hearing about NDSU football, because, you know, me, McFeely, Kolpak, and Dom talk for hours about this on the show, but I don't think we would really ever hear what you guys want to know. So yes, please email me. I know we just had my email up, my Twitter up. And as you guys know, love getting you guys involved on the show. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get a wrap up on the show. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and Forum.com and KSFL. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're having a great start to your Wednesday morning. The Women's World Cup has been going on throughout this entire week. As you all know, I am a big soccer fan. Grew up playing it for, 20 years? Love watching it. It's a growing game. I think I saw something saying that this past USA game when they played Vietnam was the most watched Women's World Cup game. I think I had like 2 million. Let me look this up. Let me fact check myself. Regardless, they play again tonight. So they already have won their first group stage game against Vietnam 3-0. And people were freaking out, like absolutely freaking out, saying, oh my gosh, this is not the women's team that we're used to seeing. They're not dominating. And I just need to say, relax. They just needed to get the win to get the 3 group stage points because they are in a tough group. I'll get to that in a little bit. But it's going on. The games are happening all throughout the day. Canada and Ireland played earlier today, and history was made in this game. I don't know if we can roll the clip that I have pulled up. Big win for Canada. And it's funny because a lot of the teams that we're used to seeing just aren't looking like their dominant self, which I think is fun and exciting because you don't want things to be the same every World Cup. You don't. The United States has a tough challenge today. They're playing the Netherlands, which is actually a rematch of the last World Cup final where USA did win. They're looking to go for a three-peat. But back to my conversation about people freaking out about them, I think today is going to be the biggest test to show what kind of team this USA women's national team is going to be this year. I think last game, they didn't look the best, I will say. I don't think it was anything to freak out about. They're still in first in their group stage. Netherlands also is in first. They're tied. But with the goal differential, USA is ahead. Netherlands hasn't played Vietnam yet. That's their last game of the group stage, which is played on... They'll play next Tuesday. But this is a tough group. Really tough. Portugal is a really solid team. They're ranked 21st in the country. Netherlands is ranked 9th. So if you guys, I sound really Midwest right there. Wow, that's so. Now I see what people at home were saying. Anyways, I highly recommend you all watch this game tonight at 8 p.m., which gets us into what to watch tonight. There we go. Okay, so I just told you the Women's World Cup continuing at 8 p.m. on Fox, USA Netherlands. Guys, please watch this one because you're not going to want to watch the next one. That one against Portugal will be played at 2 a.m. So we're getting lucky with these time slots. So if you're not doing anything at 8, highly recommend watching that. The Braves and Red Sox play at 6 on ESPN. The Mariners and the Twins play at 12. So pretty quickly after the show, you guys could go flip that on. We talked with Dick Bremer a little bit earlier on in the show, and his biggest thing was consistency, and better at bats, which has been the common theme for the Twins. Be consistent. Why is it so hard? And I get with baseball, there's so many moving parts, and you don't know what you're going to get with the bullpen that day, but I'm hoping for a Twins win. Say that 3 times fast. Twins win, Twins win, Twins win. Oh, I just did. That actually wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I'm getting so sidetracked. I love doing the show because you guys can just see how my mind works. And people at work have told me, they're like, Logan, we have stopped trying to figure you out because it's just never going to work. We're never going to be able to figure you out. My brain, oh my gosh, guys, I can never talk towards the end of the show. No, I'm not a bride. My brain doesn't. My brain goes in like a million different directions, as I'm sure you can tell, because I go off on tangents on the most random thing, and then we'll flip to the next most random thing that comes to my brain. It's always at the end of the show. I can never talk. What is up with that? Anyways, back to USA, Netherlands. This is going to be a big game. A big game. I'm going to watch. I know my family's watching. The bars in D.C. are staying open 24/7 for when they play, which is so cool. I'm pretty sure, doesn't Fargo have a good following? I got to find out if the Outlaws have a watch party or something for this game, because I might have to go. I love watching games with people. I love watching games with groups of people. I think it just makes you more excited about what's happening. And then when I'm watching alone, I'm like, oh yeah, like that's sick. And then I'm like, oh, I wish someone was here so I could get excited with someone. I love just being around people during sporting events. Speaking of sporting events, I need to get to a Minnesota Vikings game. I know we're going to be there for the NDSU season opener against Eastern Washington at US Bank on September 2nd, but I really want to go as a fan because I've heard that stadium is so fun and so cool. McFeely was saying that there's a DJ that opens up the games, which is so fun. I need to get to one of those games. I was able to go to a Twins game, and I also want to go to the X to watch the Wild play at some point. Because hockey season is going to be here before we know it. I keep saying, I can't believe football is already here. Hockey is what? Starts in October. So we're what? July, August, September. Pretty much 4 months away. Pretty much 3 months away because August is here next week. Gosh. Time is going by so fast. That is so scary. So scary. Like I said earlier on the show, if you guys missed it, Lewis Walker, the defensive backs coach for NDSU, is coming on tomorrow. Please let me know what questions you have for him and about NDSU football in general. I know that we've talked about how maybe fans aren't as excited for this year, but I want people to be excited. I want to know what you guys are interested in. So please tweet at me. Please email me. Tweet at the WDAY Sports account. We want to know what you guys are interested in hearing and learning about NDSU football because fall camp is here in just literally next week. Literally tomorrow, I think. Yep, tomorrow marks 1 week out from fall camp, which is so crazy, so fun. I'm really excited for the season. Really excited for the season. Thank you to all my guests that came on today. Dan Larson, Drew Trafton, Dick Bremer, Noah Stommes. It was a fun show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. You've been watching Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and Forum.com and KSFL. We'll see you all right here tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Dragged her 2 blocks, didn't even stop.
Why don't you turn him in then?
He was my friend. He told me he'd rather die than go to prison.
So instead you did nothing. And look how it turned out for you.
It ruined my life.
Ruined a lot of lives.
Gavin's turned out perfectly. Wasn't fair.
I have a gun. I'll go somewhere my family won't find my body. I pray I have the nerve to carry it out. If I turn out to be a coward in this as well, I promise I'll find an alternative. Well, Gavin found his alternative, all right. Yeah, his alternative was me. So we read him the suicide note, and he opened up about it. Yeah. Though Jamie did a hell of a job putting the pieces together all by himself.
10%.
What's 10%?
Jamie wanted to know how many cops who fired their weapon in the line of duty had a fatal result. 10%.
10% of the 5%.
Yeah.
And 3 of them are sitting right here. What are the odds of that?
It's not a club anyone asked to join.
No, but here we are. What does that say about us?
Maybe basic instinct says to run away from a fire if you run towards it.
If he fails, at least fails daring greatly, so that his place shall
not be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat.
There's to never again.
You're here.
Boys, hurry up. You're gonna be late for the bus.
Babe, we're pretty much on fumes to the end of the month. Which one of these bills you want me to pay first?
Well, the gas company's not gonna ding us for 15 days. Pay the power bill.
You're a genius.
Remember, tonight's the night that me and the boys are gonna be home late.
Right, the birthday party or something.